This is a 2006 Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor that I bought for $400 because the previous owner accidentally crash tested it. I'm pleased to report it passed with flying carpets, however it is now lacking in the inspectability department. Fortunately, being that it is a body-on-frame design, as long as the frame is not bent, you can simply unbolt and replace all the smashed body parts and make it like new again. So that's what I'm going to do. I got that all cleaned up and smoothed out, and I acquired an identical donor car also for $400. I stripped it down just like this one, put all the parts over there, and then carefully cut out and cleaned up the body mount weldment that I needed. That's what that looks like. So I'm going to get that lined up as best I can and weld it on there, and then I'll be ready to reassemble everything. Very pleased with how that turned out. I got that welded on and put some black spray paint on it. These welds look pretty decent. Cobwebs on it. So now I'm ready to bolt everything back together, except I decided I am going to paint the panels I'm putting on because it would just be too ridiculous looking to have yellow panels on a gray car, and the paint on this car is pretty nice, so it would be nice to have them matching. So I've got them sitting out under this cover. Thus far, I have washed them off, sanded them with 320 grit, and then any areas where I cut down to bare metal, I sanded with 120 grit, which seems really coarse, but that's what the instructions for the paint I got say to do. I've also wiped them all down with wax and grease remover, so I'm just going to brush them with a tack cloth, and I guess I am ready to spray paint. Got these panels painted. Let me put them back on the car so we can see them better. That's the inspection station. That's me pulled over at the inspection station. So I showed that guy my proof of insurance and explained I was trying to get the car inspected so I could get a license plate on it, and he gave me a ticket for not having a license plate. So that's very upsetting. Also, it did not pass inspection because it has not ready codes, which I hadn't encountered before. Actually, I had encountered them yesterday, which was the first time I tried to get it inspected. And it had the same thing. The guy at the inspection station said just drive it around a while and they should go away. I drove it around a little while. Apparently they didn't go away. So, not exactly sure what I'm going to do about that. It's a few weeks later. I ended up just driving this thing around for a while. I'm not sure how many miles it was. It was about a tank of gas, I think. And those not ready warnings, or whatever they were, went off. So I was able to get it inspected and get a license plate. And I got that ticket dismissed, so that's all good. But I thought I would just show you what the paint looks like in daylight. It didn't come out quite as good as I hoped, but I think I understand everything that I did wrong, except for right here. Well, actually it's pretty difficult to see even in person, but there is a stripe across the entire width of the hood, and I'm not sure what causes that. That's about where I stopped and walked around to the other side and started again, so I'm assuming that's just caused by inconsistent overlap. But if you can shed light on that, I'd love to hear it. Like, say, I think everything else I kind of understand, but I don't think I would do this again. Painting things outside with zero experience and little skill is not a great recipe for success. I did end up using a header panel from a junkyard car because the one on the parts car was broken, and the bumper cover was off the parts car, but I sanded it down to white and then ended up painting it with black Rust-Oleum because I ran out of silver paint. This is the paint I used. It ended up being $360 for all the paint and supplies and everything, and a local body shop quoted me $1,100 just to spray the panels if I brought them to them, so not including any prep work or anything. All in all, I'm going to say I'm satisfied with it. It meets my standard for adequately obscuring the fact that this car was in a wreck. I think at a glance it's not blatantly obvious that it's been repainted, but I actually need to go run some errands later on, so I'll try and get some footage of driving around and you tell me. This thing is running and driving great. I pulled it back in the garage to do a couple other small repairs to it. The odometer is completely dead. It doesn't light up or do anything at all. So I took the gauge cluster out and took it all apart and got this circuit board out of it. I looked this over really closely with a magnifying glass and I couldn't see anything wrong with it. People say either the joints on the back or also sometimes the resistors underneath the actual display itself will have problems with cracked solder joints. But I couldn't find anything wrong with it, so I'm actually just going to send it out to a place to get it repaired. I'm just going to mail it into them and let them handle it because I'm pretty sure I would ruin this if I tried to repair it, even if I did know what was wrong with it. And I did consider putting in a used instrument cluster, but most of them have the exact same problem and the mileage is actually stored in the cluster. So if you change the cluster, you change the mileage. Another thing I did was pull the steering wheel off so that I could get this out. This is the shift interlock solenoid. Another very common problem on these cars is that these go bad and don't work. You can bypass it. There's a little hole up underneath the steering column that you can stick a screwdriver up in and mash on this little silver part right here and manually activate the solenoid. But that's pretty annoying, so I'm just going to fix it. You can get replacement solenoids, but I think they're like $100 and they're also prone to failure. So I am just going to grind the little nub off of this one. I got that ground down and reinstalled. So now, as long as you have the key on, you can shift out of park without pushing on the brake pedal, which in my opinion is how it should have come from the factory. I was going to try and get the parts car running just kind of to see if it would, but it turns out the engine is seized up. I put a bar on the crank bolt and it is stuck. It won't budge at all. So that explains why it got sold for scrap. That is slightly disappointing, but look what I found in the trunk. A toolbox full of tools, or full of wrenches anyway. That's pretty cool. I usually don't find anything good in scrap cars. Bungee cord. Actually need that for the other car. Screwdriver and a socket, wrench, bullet, another wrench. This car is just full of tools. Broken tape measure. Oh, spare keys. Cigarette lighter. Another key. stuff you can't show on YouTube. Let's check under this side. Wow. Pliers too. Got the gauge board back. I'm not exactly sure what they did to it, but it looks like they resoldered the connections on the resistors that mount underneath the display. That's who I sent it to, the Gauge Pro LLC. So let's plug it in and see if it works. Huh. I plugged the light switch back in just in case that was the problem, so let's try it again. Nope. Okay, I think I've got it working now. I tried this board in the parts car and it worked fine. The display lit up and everything. So I put it back in this car and I did a bunch of messing around, and I finally figured out that I did not have battery voltage at the number 17 wire up here going into the board when the key is in the run position, which you are supposed to have. So I did some more messing around and figured out that that wire comes off of the number 6 fuse in the fuse box. I just took the fuse out and it didn't look blown, so I put it back in and now it works. Better double check. And now it's not working again. What in the world? Okay, so we must just have a bad connection on this fuse down here, because when I wiggle it, it comes on and goes off. At least I know what the problem is, so I'm going to put most of this back together. It's got this big ugly stain on the back seat here, so I'm going to see if I can get it out. This is just water. went ahead and cleaned the rest of the seats in the same way, and also scrubbed down the door panels and the dash and what have you. And got it pretty clean in here. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm trying to figure out why the cruise control doesn't work, and the first thing I'm doing is testing the buttons. So I took the cover off the bottom of the steering column again and unplugged the connector from the clock spring. There is a wire that is gray, light blue with a black stripe, and another wire that is dark green with an orange stripe, and you find the corresponding pins to those wires in the connector on the clock spring. And I hooked some leads to those, and then hooked that to this multimeter, and I'm going to test those for resistance. So I'm not sure what they should do, but they should all do something. So it does nothing. That's good. That's good. Good. And that does nothing. So the on and off switch here is not doing anything when I push it. Alright, cool. I took the airbag out. That's kind of tricky. The best way I know to do it is to take a 3mm Allen wrench with a squared end, not a ball end, and stick it in the 4 holes in the back of the steering wheel. And the idea is you catch it. You catch these spring wires that hold the airbag in and push them to the side. So it's kind of a difficult thing to do. You have to feel around and get on it. And obviously with the bag in there you can't see it, but that's what you're trying to do, because when you push that to the side, it releases from those hooks and allows the airbag to come out. But the parts car had a good on-off switch in it, so I'm going to pull this one out and replace it. Just need to take this torque screw out. And you should be able to gently pry the switch out with a flathead screwdriver. It's just kind of in there with friction. And there's a connector on the back side there. There we go. Just going to double check and make sure it's working. So that's off. Yep. And on. Looks good. I don't know what the actual ohms are supposed to be. It's probably out of range of the meter, but it's doing something, so it's probably fine. And then we'll put the airbag back in, just hook the wires back up, and slide it in. And forget about the horn and get scared. Alright, let's see if it works. On, set. Ah, cool, it does. Accelerate. Yep. Decelerate. Off. Alright, the one other thing wrong with this car that you may have seen is that the parking brake light and ABS light are on virtually all the time that the car is on. Occasionally you can start it and run it and they'll stay off, but it's very rare. The internet says the most common cause of that is a failed ABS control module. However, the module is pretty expensive to replace, and there are several other things that can cause that, so it's prudent to properly diagnose it. The ABS module throws trouble codes that can be read, however you can't read them with a normal cheap code reader, so I downloaded some free software called ForScan, which is diagnostic software designed for Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, and Mazda vehicles from 1996 to present day, I believe. Put it on this laptop, connected the laptop to the OBD2 port in the car with an adapter I bought that is specifically designed to be used with ForScan. I think that was like 30 bucks, so not too bad. And I'm going to open it up and see if I can read the codes. Let's turn the car on. Why is it telling me I'm not connected? Let's see. Not recognized. I had to download the drivers and update the firmware on this V-Linker FS device. I have no idea what any of that is. I just followed a tutorial video, but hopefully now it is working. Let's turn the car on and see what happens. nothing. It turns out it doesn't connect to the vehicle unless you come over here and click connect to vehicle. That took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out, but let's see what happens now. Demo mode is active, switch to real mode. Yes. Following conditions are met. Blah, blah, blah. Connection vehicle. Select specification, Ford Crown Victoria, okay. Crown Victoria, 2-valve, 4.6, 2006 model year. Aha! Found module, ABS anti-lock braking system, DTC, I guess that's something trouble code. Let's see, I think if I click this, ABS. Okay, code B1342, ECU internal fault. Okay, I think that's what I thought it was supposed to be. I set up an oscilloscope feed in this software for every part of the ABS system that it would let me, and drove the car up and down the road a little bit, and nothing seems to be doing anything. So this green line here is the brake switch on and off, and then this squiggly red line here is the voltage, I think just out of the alternator, and everything else was unchanged the whole time. Now I did notice, let me see if I can get it to do it again. Let's see, hit record. If you cycle the key on and off, this blue line here will sometimes do something. Yeah, usually it will change from off to on. That is the ABS valve control relay. So it's my understanding that this car, like most modern cars, is supposed to go through an ABS system self-check either when you turn the ignition to run or when the car starts moving at like 10 miles an hour or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it is not doing anything. So that also points to a bad control module. I'm going to rob the ABS control module off the parts car here. I have very little faith that it actually works, but it's free and I already have it, so I'm going to try it. I installed the parts module, so let's see what happens now. Let's see, connect. Well, so far so good. Let's see, it's not showing any codes here. Okay. I guess let me start it up. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh no, okay, it went back out. There's no way that worked. Oh, but now I got... Oh, that's nothing, okay. I can't believe that. Seems to be working fine. Well, I guess I'm going to call that good. I drove it around a little bit and those lights stayed off and it's not showing any codes now, so I guess that module from the parts car did work, which is awesome. I'm surprised at that. I thought for sure I was going to have to buy one, but that was the only other thing wrong with this as far as I know. So I was originally planning to just fix this up a little bit and sell it, but I think I might keep it actually. The only things I don't like about it are it rides rough because it's got cop suspension and it doesn't get very good fuel economy. I've been squeezing about 20 or 21 miles a gallon out of it, but I don't think I've ever had a car before that wasn't basically on death's door, so I'm kind of taking a shine to this. I might have to keep it for a while. Anyway, thanks for watching.